universe. So what they've been doing is they also ran Venomancer. They've also obviously run as a core with Artor or with Zai, and then you saw with the Pugna as well, like a mid or a support. And so I almost feel like as part of like maybe their experimentation or trying things out for this tournament, they're trying to see like how many of these flex picks can we really get working for us comfortably, because that gives them more options at the start of the draft, which they may need against some of the some of the better teams down the road. So I think I don't know if they'll keep going with that in this series. They are in the lower bracket, and
yeah. You think that's why they try the puck as a support, even, see how flexible they can be with some of these heroes?
Yeah, because that's right. Truly scary, right? If you're picking a puck and it can play 3 different positions, I mean, the things you have to account for just go up quite a bit. So
it changes the game so much when you don't know your opponent's lanes, because it's very easy to know whether you can get away with like a certain like greedy carry pick if you know the lane matchup is going to work for it. But if you suddenly have a different matchup than what you're expecting, you can just lose the game from the lanes. So we'll see what comes out here. Clutch banning, interesting they ban the Drow and the puck. Normally you see most teams are seeing just ban one or the other, because by banning the Drow, the puck offlane isn't as potent. You mostly draw the puck in the mid, or you ban the puck and the Drow is not as scary.
They leave the Wisp out there though. EG are not going to hesitate on grabbing it. Crit Wisp. He was once known as the greatest Wisp in NA.
I would have expected Wisp and Drow to be banned. I mean, the Drow is just such an enabler for whatever else they want to run, and the Wisp is kind of just, I don't know, it's just got to be one of EG's scariest heroes no matter what. It, again, just gets so much done. It can come and win any of your lanes for you. The mobility that they like to play naturally around. Not that Puck doesn't provide any of that, but I feel like the Wisp is just more of a natural enabler than the Puck. So Wisp is going to be out there, and then that opens up a lot of options for them.
Sand
King here for Clutch to get their first pick grab. Some teams have been doing that Witch Doctor in the first phase. I was curious to see if Clutch were going to go for it, considering this was already out there, but Sand King is just so good. Got to get it. And then the immediate follow-up is going to be our faceless friend, Mr. Faceless Void.
When you talk about CK becoming a meta pick as, like, I think he's more like as that third, fourth pick. I think the new emergence in the first stage for meta picks is Void and perhaps Phoenix. I mean, Sand King, these have always been there, but I think Void has become much more of a top pick lately. Same for the Phoenix. Not seeing a Phoenix here. I don't think we will from the G, but that's more like what we've seen of OG and some of the other teams.
It was kind of like that last year's TI too. Like I remember Wings, for instance, would take a lot of Marana or Timbersaw or Void very early in the draft. Like they didn't mind picking one or two of their cores because they were still flexible with the laning. That's like kind of been since Void's major changes like a couple patches ago. That's kind of been one of their advantages of the hero. And the hero also is like very difficult to deal with like whether you have a meta pick like a Bristleback or something like that the Void does well against. But if you can't burst him down or control him, then it's very hard to kill him, no matter what position he's in. So I think that's been a real advantage as well.
10 seconds remaining.
Here's that venue you mentioned, the flexibility there with this pick to run it as a support for crit or in the hands of Arteezy. I don't think we've seen any male Venom, but I've definitely seen mid Venom from some other teams. Still pretty prevalent in pubs as well. Many pubs are rampant with Veno pickers these days.
Maybe was running that mid Veno a couple months ago, and he used it with some success as well. That build is very different. It's like a max Gale and Poison. It's like a 4-3-0 build, and then if he gets rotation, depending on who the mid laner is, if it's a bit more static one, and they get rotations, like the kill potential is absolutely absurd against even like a Lina. I think back then was like Lina is a hot pick now, but like even more so back then with the talents. And it was just like if you hit Lina with the Gale and there's a +1, like the Lina just goes down.
Still, like you guys are talking about, a lot of flexibility available with this first phase set of picks, so we're not getting a whole lot of information out there. So I'm curious to see when we get into the second phase of bans if things are going to become a bit more revealing here. That CK is still an option out there, and we already know that Wisp CK is a classic pairing, so I'm curious if it will get the ban. Sumail Storm Spirit obviously going to get the nod. It's always been a popular pickup, and when you have Wisp already on their team, just kind of enables him to do what he pleases.
Yep, focusing bans all on the cores, as you can kind of see with the Eye of Venom, likely supports, at least one of the two supports picked up, maybe even both. So likely we'll see bans onto mids, offlaners at this stage.
We can do an AA for Clutch gamers. Do you know if they played at all? AA Faceless Void, plus you're going against the Wisp. Might be...
Yeah, it's definitely a nice option. I think A's received enough buffs. We're seeing a few teams bust it out. For a little while, teams were first picking it. I think that kind of phases over, but the hero is definitely quite powerful. Doesn't deal well with like the annoying Veno push. If it's like a safe lane farming Veno, I think AA is quite weak playing into that compared to maybe some other supports, but see. I think Invoker is something Clutch always eyeing off. Armel's Invoker, perhaps his best hero. Obvious synergy with the Faceless Void. That's also why the Darks is banned. It's a hero that combos well with the Void. Putting an Iron Shell on him in the early game for his Chronos gives him some guaranteed damage output. But here's a good another. It's the Void combos. Phoenix Void, another good combo. You Sunray heroes at a Chrono, but I think even better than that is your Phoenix can kind of initiate with an egg, and if they try and hit the egg, they're grouping up for that like 3 or 4 man Chrono. We saw a few times that happened in the OG series where Fly would just dive in, drop a Supernova, and it would set up like a very easy, straightforward Chronosphere.
Well, they'll pass on the AA and go for the Witch Doctor, which was mentioned earlier in the draft as, you know, a strong, good counter pick to something like the Wisp, helping you set up some potential for good coconuts. And then, not much after that, we are going to have the Earthshaker come out.
The Witch Doctor is I mean, it's a very frequent SCA pick, and some teams taking it very early on, and then it's had natural synergy with the Void. Obviously, like a couple patches ago, you could no longer plant his Death Ward inside the Chronosphere, but it still has natural synergy with the Void. And then also it gives you some heal and sustain, and so against like the Venomancer, let's say you're dealing with the Poison Nova, it gives you some answer to that. And then, as a laner as well, can give you kill potential depending what your core is. So kind of can't ban everything that synergizes.
Okay, the Queen of Pain. Mobile hero, which doesn't care about the Veno so much. The slows, the gales, the wards, you can kind of just blink around, ignore them, and actually still get on top of heroes, so...
Yeah, burst down wisps and stuff.
Yeah, I like the philosophy behind this pick.
Participate outside of a Chronosphere, just, you know, feels like a strong, well-rounded mid-lane core option here for Clutch.
And for EG, there's still that point where you really don't know what's happening with this draft. The Shaker, you assume it's the offlane, but it could be a support with the IO. The Veno, same thing. Likely Arteezy's hero, but can also be played as a support. It's not until you see this 4th pick where you're suddenly like, aha, this is probably what they're doing. And Spirit Breaker means that's going to be a support Spirit Breaker, Veno carry, Shaker offlane. Now you kind of know what's actually going on with EG's draft.
The Shaker has been also like a very highly regarded offlane pick for some teams. I think LGD will, like Old 11, they'll take it almost every time for him when it's available. You have the long range cancel on the Witch Doctor Death Ward, and then also he's like very disruptive into Chronosphere. So if you're expecting to set things up with the Chrono, you have the Earthshaker Fissure, being able to disrupt the damage or maybe create terrain, something that just gets in the way of the follow up. So and then obviously like the fact that you really can't stop him from getting his experience and levels for the most part, unless you make a very heavy commit, say past the tower to try to zone him from the poles and the fissure blocks. Then you can't really stop him from getting something that he needs out of the lane.
10 seconds.
So what Sumail's hero is going to be a lot of bans targeted at him. Silencer,
Ooh.
hero that can match up very well in the 1v1 against the Queen of Pain. And I was thinking, like, Spirit Breaker isn't the best for actually ganking and being able to rotate on Quap because you can blink away, but potentially with a Silence to set it up. Whoa.
That's an Underlord.
That's another SEA pick. This was mostly Fnatic who would run a lot of this. Ahaya was playing this in the offlane a ton, so I think this is something which is developed in the SEA meta. And Clutch Gamers have taken it to MDL now, and we'll see how it fares. It's a kind of annoying matchup against the lane matchup's quite tough, but later on you get if you can blow that Venom magic damage up. But
it's really interesting how they're going to be playing Lord. You imagine the Wizard floating around with Simple in the mid lane. I imagine the Band King's floated as well. So does Spirit Breaker work out okay? Someone is as Underlord, or are they going to want to run the map? For in their city.
Spirit Breaker is one of those heroes I think he's thought of as that roaming aggressive 4, but if you like the Treant Protector, a lot of teams will play him on their 5-position player. It will be Zion the 4, but you can send him to the safe lane. Treant's actually a fantastic safe lane zone support because his base damage is insane. He goes invis. Spirit Breaker, same thing. You just get more Venom, you start whacking at the offlaner, you hope for a bash, and you're actually a pretty good hero to secure your safe lane despite being thought of as a roaming hero.
Fair enough. Looks like we got a game, gentlemen. Let's get into it. We are now going to be starting our adventure through the lower bracket of this playoff for MDL. We have EG versus Clutch Gamers here. Remember, loser of the series, well, their Mars TV journey will conclude.
Boom backs up to the Sand King. Uh-oh.
He's been spotted going a bit deep here.
Does block the camp that Universe wants to pull in the off lane.
Yep. We'll eat some shots on the way out and have to use that burrow strike to make it over the fissure, but he's going to be safe.
Looks like there's pings on that camp as if, hey, this is likely blocked. They still the observer ward on him, but they know there was also a sentry. I mean, they don't, but they may guess they're pinging this camp quite a lot, and we'll see what comes with that.
They may end up scouting it to see if it spawns and then try to quickly take it out in that 30-second window. Meanwhile, back and below the line, I was going to be curious here. We have a Rappy going to be playing that Underlord in a matchup against what looks like RTZ's Venomancer. And indeed, Zai is going to be hanging around. Indeed, he does have the Orb of Venom, and it's going to be one to probably be zoning back that big, ugly-looking pig thing.
Yeah. Once Venom gets like a edge in the lane, kind of can be left alone, but ideally you want to support him in those first couple of levels. Give him a bit of an edge so he has the CS advantage, can get his boots up, his wand, he's going to get an Orb of Venom, it looks like, even on the Venomancer, so the fact he's going to get an Orb of Venom when Spirit Breaker has one suggests he is going to be left alone quite a bit.
One cause for concern, I think, if you're an EG fan, is the cores for CG match up pretty well against EG's cores, and with the Underlord that you've seen from Fnatic or other teams, like, this hero stops pushes very well, and so, and EG don't already have the best objective taking to begin with. It's like feels like they're going to rely a lot on getting kills and kind of snowballing objectives. So if they're not able to do that, they can't push towers against Underlord. You basically guarantee getting into a mid or late game where the cores for a chance to shine. So that's something to watch out for.
He's thinking, lurking around this mid lane, but against two range tiers, it's kind of hard to be too effective here. But he really get a fire strike off if he wants to.
No, he doesn't want to. He wants to go look at him and then walk away, apparently. But he's letting him know that he is here. And you probably want to get too proactive if you're EG at that point. We also saw them zone back Rappy quite a bit. He had to force out the early TP. He's still just level 1 and half of level 1. Two tangos to work with, but the zoning back from the Spirit Breaker is working pretty good for now.
Oh. What I love to see happen from these Spirit Breakers early on when you've got that IO. Just take it upon yourself to go to your safe lane for the start and then roam later on once you get a few more levels. Once Veno can be left alone, this lane will change quite a bit.
Yep, and Uber Lord does take to the jungle, so once side kind of recognizes he's not going to be back in the lane, he can either A, pull the wave a bit like he is now and get some solo XP, or could decide to start charging about the map and looking for some potential setups.
It's very slow jungle. Level 1 Underlord doesn't really do this particularly efficiently. He's had to use 3 firestorms.
Oh god, the bird!
Yeah, oh yeah, he got to respawn too. That was value. And got a bounty rune on his way home. Gets his level 2. Works out for him okay there. That was very close.
Yeah, but you know, we have Universe who's able to kind of hang in the lane. He gets his own bounty rune, it looks like. He now notices the camp is blocked. They actually missed the sentry, so he doesn't have access to that camp. So it could be going even better for Universe, but at the moment he has been nerfed down just a bit. But look at this. Now we have a rotation coming out. Fly solo on the Witch Doctor. Now kind of taken to the mid lane here. Knows he has the power of the coconut, and if he gets a good setup on the crit Sumail, this could lead to a good first blood. So he begins to creep in. Coconut throws it out, and it does find a second connection on the crit. No follow-up, but they strike onto Sumail. Crit with the overload. He's trying to help out with the damage reduction, and it is going to be good enough. They turn their attention onto Fly Solo. We'll be able to get him down, and it looks like they could make it a twofer. Zai gets in on the action, and Boombox could be next, but he's got the speed of the boot. He's going to be able to charge though onto Armel. Even gets the follow-up bash. Fly Solo is back now though, and EG will pump the brakes a bit, but it's going to be EG who get the first blood on that gank attempt.
Man, it's Crit having a salve. He actually doesn't have a bottle on IO, but if he had a bottle, Silencer dies there. But because he has a salve, it's faster regen, it's more regen. He just pops his overcharge and salves up Sumail through the entire thing. Sumail probably tanked about like over 1,000 damage there, I want to say, in that gank, but he survives and will do that IO heal. Really good play from Crit.
Overcharge plus salve was definitely life-saving.
just felt so ready for this. You see this ward they have above that cliff, so they were able to see that rotation coming. And then Silencer, not a very mobile mid-hero, so he's a bit susceptible to these rotational ganks, but the Wisp and the Spirit Breaker both make up for that. And there's kind of again like a ripple effect as we see a skirmish break.
Yeah, top lane, they're putting pressure on the Universe, but Crit has stepped in along with Zai. They're trying to help him out, but there's just too much firepower. Universe going to be going down, but EG attempting to go for a bit of redemption. Boombox narrowly escaping yet again.
The kind of the ripple effect I was going to say from the Underlord, because generally when you pick this hero, you expect him to be able to get something out of that offlane, not have to go immediately to the jungle, especially if he's up against only 2 heroes, one of them being a melee support. You would expect him to be able to get more out of that, but since he's zoned and he's not able to, that frees up the Spirit Breaker to really just go around and start wreaking havoc. And again, as you said, not have to protect the Venomancer at all after those early levels because of the autonomy that he has.
The scary thing with this Venom is he's farming the lane and the jungle at the same time. He just sets up his wards, he farms that big camp, he stacks it, and he's also farming the safe lane. But TZ is going to be a big issue this game with how much farm and experience he's getting.
You know, he just has those deep roots of Dota playing where he knows to take these kind of heroes and max the efficiency grind. Like Naga in particular stands out to me, and one of those things that when you kind of know what's in the meta, you grind your way through it to know exactly all the min-maxing of farming efficiency with that lane. It's being demonstrated here quite nicely by RTZ right now.
And also something to watch for, like if it's a core Venomancer on Radiant versus Dire, because Radiant doesn't have the same like tri-camp areas that Dire has, where you can hit both the Ancients and 2 camps.
Yeah.
But it does have these kind of like lane areas where you can do that. This safe lane being notable. Like you can do that on Dire as well, but just trying to maximize the farm, and like the safe lane is like the best position for him to be able to do that.
And without really any threats coming at the moment from CG, he can just do it scot-free. EG's support duo at the moment have been kind of off the radar, but they have spotted Boombox nearby, so they'll pressure him a bit. Zai even committing him with the charge, but as he approaches the high ground and joins arms with Rappy, EG will obviously, you know, pump the brakes there.
Level
step off.
7 Benno very early on. This is perhaps this bottom tier 1 tower going down quite fast. The nice thing about this Underlord pick is it does clear the creep wave pretty effectively and also draws the aggro off the tower, but it won't deal with the wards. But at least being able to pull the creeps means that tower will stay alive a little bit longer. And I think that was a big reason behind this Underlord pick, is they wanted a hero that could just sit bottom, doesn't want to rotate, just wants to sit in this bottom lane and continue to protect this tower as long as possible. So RTZ will over time get
jump onto Sumail in the mid lane. It's a 3-on-1, so this should be pretty swift from CG. Good setups between the Coconut and Boombox on that Burrow Strike will make it possible. Just a good opening right there. Some ward vision in that mid lane. They probably saw a window of opportunity to kind of make that play. Yep.
I feel like they do need to be active, find a way to get this Sand King involved early on as possible. He couldn't do a whole lot in the early levels against 2 range heroes, but now with some smoke, some Witch Doctor rotations, he's trying to... I mean, the smoke failed mid, but then he went top, successfully kills Earthshaker, gets a successful kill there, and again, smoked out, looking for another kill.
Yeah, they're eyeballing this mid lane, but we just saw Zai and Crit return to the mid lane. They're actually taking their leave and heading up north to that top lane, so as Sumail shows himself back in mid once again, he could get jumped for the 2nd time straight, and actually here it's going to be happening right now. Fly Solo moving in from behind. There goes the Coconut. There's the Maldic. The Burrow should be coming in right now. And that is going to be the end of Sumail. Meanwhile, top lane, though. A dunk comes out, and they will get Gabby as their response. Simultaneous gank action from both teams, both successful.
Successful smoke ganks. Both teams losing a pretty big, important core hero. The Silencer perhaps the tougher lost because he's trying to farm a Midas. He's not a good catch-up hero, whereas Void, you can just play around the Chrono if he gets ganked once or twice. Yeah, he's a safe lane farmer, but he's just going for like a more utility build with the Vlads. It does feel like a slight edge for clutch gamers in terms of the trade.
Yeah, Silencer did have a pretty good time CSing against Queen of Pain. I mean, I'm gonna chalk that up to some male things. He did get that protection early on, but he's putting up a few kills here. Once again, concern, if you don't have a good start, it's harder to take these objectives, and then the cores, like especially the Queen of Pain versus Venomancer, as I mentioned before, even Void against Venomancer, like the damage is, it's not easy to bring them down. You need very good play from the Earthshaker and any stuns together off to bring down some of these scores. Yep. So starting versus good start is important as well. You want to get quick blink dagger, just so much, right? And especially when you have other like super reliable initiation from the universe start items. Have the Spirit your charge, but as a support, he's not getting that many kills. He's a little under level, and his initiation is not necessarily the best fit or the most reliable for your team.
Eyes on bottom lane. They're looking to make a go onto EG. Nearby is Zai, but this is a 3-man rotation. He is able to get the Gale off onto Boombox, who's now caught between a couple of Venom wards. Zai charging through and past him, going to Rappy. Maybe caught in a bit of trouble as the pit's going to get committed. Now the Sonic Wave, and that's going to be plenty of firepower to get the finish onto Zai.
Was that some perfect wall stuff? Why did Sanking not get hit by the charge? What happened there?
I don't know. He just like...
He like charged through him and it didn't bash him. I was so
confused. I saw him get hit by the charge. So.
Okay, maybe it was just my computer then.
Just a brief slideshow, firewall, perfect world, something.
But yeah, overall, EG are still winning these lanes. The Venom's just crushing the safe lane in terms of farming the lane and the jungle. He's got that maximum efficiency. Normally at this point you would have seen Arteezy take the tier 1 tower, but that's the nature of the Underlord pick, preventing that. It's definitely fulfilling its purpose there, although at the end of the day, Arteezy's like, well, I'm not hitting my timings as far as taking towers and objectives, but I'm definitely going to hit my item timings. He's incredibly farmed. I believe Veil is completed. Yeah, it's on the courier, so that'll be coming up.
Top lane, Zai has been spotted as he tries to charge his way out from the lane. Gabby moves in with the Chrono, and it will turn it into a pick. Now 5-2. Clutch Gamers continue to string together a lot of these early game pickoffs.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Definitely necessary when you're losing the farm and the laning stage to find those kills. Kind of at least somewhat equalizes it. Chamel's actually backed off from the Midas. He had this Midas queued up for quite some time, and since getting the Gloves of Haste and having like, he was like 1,000 gold, he's like, nah, screw it, not going to get this. Buys Treads, Wand, Headdress. Keep going, and he has a Ring of Health queued up, so interesting to see what he's going to build.
It's like a thrift shop he's got holding here, but
yeah,
need to commit to something eventually here. Numbers for EG, it looks like in the mid lane at the moment, but more reinforcements as Fly Solo steps in.
Is he going? Oh, he's going to go for Helm of the Dominator. That's what he's got queued up. Interesting.
We've seen that on Silencer before, but that was a puppy support.
Yeah, no. It's not only an item you think of on a mid or a core. It's kind of being tweaked such that it's a kind of support item, but mid Silencer can kind of be a utility hero. It gives you a ton of HP regen and some auras for your team. See how we can use that Dominate creep as well.
Jack, your thoughts on the mid lane Silencer Helm of the Dominator kind of thing we got going here potentially?
Radiant's top tower
it's interesting. I think there are a number of creeps he can get that could improve his survivability, or at least be like a good companion, or possibly help them push as well. So you see it picked up for those reasons, and you could see that useful again here. Whether he chooses to go for the Silver or the Ogre, the armor is pretty good. Could be helpful as well. But I'm still a little bit concerned here about the lineups right now. I think CG has drafted pretty well in this game, and also like the synergy for the Silencer with the rest of his team. Like for the most part, you see Global use a lot to protect these kind of very strong initiations, these kind of bursty type of lineups. For the damage output of EG, it's not really so much the case. Like it feels like you have a Global, and then the only real initiation that I can protect is that of the Earthshaker. Beyond that, it's like kind of slow, sustained damage versus burst. So I'm not sure if it's the best synergy for the Silencer this time. Like it prevents some of the combo or shuts down some of it from Clutch Gamers, but it doesn't really enable themselves that well. So
definitely feels like they picked the hero exclusively to the lane.
Stun move on for Sumail. This comes just after he was able to take the tier 1 tower. He's going to commit in with the global, and it's going to be Crit who bails him out and sends him back home. Crit should come back, but he does have help nearby. Universe with the Echo is waiting on the other side of the river. Can they get the jump onto Crit? Fissure does come out, but they do land the burrow. He managed to tether, but he pops on the way. It just turns into the solo Wisp takedown with both teams pretty much having nearly all hands on deck in this mid lane.
Yeah, it saved its own life there, but again, it's pretty much almost got all
like
defensive control in this game, it feels like.
Bottom lane, a charge here from Zai, and assistance with Arteezy. Meanwhile, mid lane, Rono, and a Death Ward combo comes out, and will help get the finish under the Earthshaker here. Also zoning back the rest of EG. Clutch Gamers just applying pressure onto this mid lane. They can't follow it up with any sort of +1 tower takedown, but more kills the barrier, and it also will prolong Universe's Blink Dagger just a bit more.
very quick TP response from Arteezy when the Chrono comes out after getting the kill bottom, but ultimately they don't have that easy initiation until they get a blink on the Earthshaker to actually turn those TP into kills necessarily. It'll shake you're getting caught in the Chrono, so it's easy TP's in, but Clutch Gamers, very mobile lineup, already have disengaged. Time Walk, the Queen of Pain Blink, it's very easy for their draft to kind of get in and then quickly get out.
Yes, it's actually a bit of an EG draft that CG are running themselves. I think when 7.0 first came out, when they played that China Top tournament against Newbie, they were using Underlord a lot. Underlord obviously was a bit stronger hero at that point when we first came out together with the Queen of Pain, just kind of fitting those themes of the mobility, the being able to shove the lanes out. It's kind of almost giving EG a taste of their own medicine a little bit here with the draft.
During Dota Pit, I believe, as well, they ran a lot of Underlord and somewhat kind of similar lineups too. CG are back though, they want to get this tier 1. It's time to just get some of this money that's on the map and also just progress the objectives of this game. While it's happening though, Arteezy rotated up to the top and he'll get a trade of his own tier 1 tower. Rotations are coming as Zai is going to be joining the mid lane. Here's more though, coming in from EG, and it looks like they're going to be swinging. Walk and dunk right on top of the Sand King. He'll take the quick hero. Lino commits in with the Death Ward. It gets quickly canceled out as the Global comes out. Now Gabby jump into action. Again, he does have a Chrono, so he has to jump up to the high ground near the Queen of Pain as Clutch Gamers possibly look to bail out, but
he's dead. Ziveno ulti Veil.
Just a bit too much of a dot there for Mr. Underlord.
Bought his Ring of Health to try and gate it. Maybe could have bought the cloak either way. I think he dies there, but great play. They take pop and then very fast to rotate. He's just, I think, outmaneuvering Clutch Gamers at this point. I'm kind of with like the general sentiments that Jax brings up, that does feel like Clutch have maybe a bit more synergy with their draft and a kind of clear purpose, but I think what we're seeing out of EG is just like really good spell usage, good movement around the map. Like Veno's just dominating as well in terms of his farm. He's at that point where you can kind of make up for maybe like draft issues by just how farmed the hero can be.
Yeah, he's been pretty good at punishing Clutch's like hyper aggression when they decide these towers to get a bit too hard to kill.
Will they do it again? They're moving in for crit. They even commit the Chrono on top of it, so they will certainly get their Wisp.
So I guess a cheeky deny.
But yeah, they lose out on the money of the tower, and Arteezy continues to plague his way through this top lane on that disgusting Behemoth.
I haven't mentioned how happy I am that we're seeing the Corvair. Just kidding. Oh, well, not really.
I'm glad it's the first one. Hopefully it's the last one. It's
Some
just
hero.
so hype right now.
Yeah.
The big plays when he hits the R button and drops wards.
In some ways, it feels like a new version of a Naga Siren, because like it plays kind of similar to a Naga. It fights obviously a bit more, but it's this idea where you can push lanes and farm, and you can't punish the hero because he scouts you with Plague Wards, much like a Naga will just push with illusions. It's a very hard to punish split pushing hero that farms incredibly fast. Not quite Naga status, but it's close.
Yeah. Piece of me dies when I see either of them drafted for sure, but
Dire's top tower is under attack.
but we're seeing Arteezy definitely make a strong case for the potency of the hero here. Tier 2 now under a bit of threat. He alone could force a lot of rotations, but the rest of EG have already made their move down in for the mid lane. They hit onto Gabby and then step off a bit. They do not want to overcommit onto this one and get too overzealous, so they take the opportunity to just head to the north, join up with Arteezy, see what's going on here.
I think the enjoyable thing for me with Arteezy's Venom is just how well he plays it. I feel like he's well ahead of most of the Venom carries out there in terms of his efficiency, his rotations. He seems to me to have the best understanding of how to get the most out of this hero.
Yeah, like the Veil has been an item that's been changed a lot, like from here and there, and like the HP regen gives you a lot of sustain. So like the hero doesn't need that much mana because you're not going to be ulting too often most of the time, and so if you have enough sustain to stay out on the map and keep the wards up, that's where your farming efficiency is. And with the wards being able to clear wards very quickly, but also neutral camps, you also spend like less time and energy necessarily micromanaging them or having to be there physically yourself to farm stuff, so that increases his farm efficiency as well. And then he does have quite a bit of magic damage, especially with the Veil, that can be underestimated a bit. He's sometimes tankier than people think he is, especially if you see a build like Solar Crest or Halberd. Usually you expect a Veno, especially if you're seeing it as a support, to just be bursted down, to just be this crispy bug for, as a snack. But as a core, he's that much harder to kill and that much more difficult to deal with in lane.
No, find the quad mid. I think the other thing which I know Blitz made some videos recently on it is the way he pressures lanes by how he farms. He's not just focusing on farming efficiency, but he is, but he's doing it in a way that he's always pressuring the lanes. He doesn't care about showing himself on the map because he forces clutch gamers to react. If they don't rotate top, I mean they do lose, they do, that was with Hero sitting up there. So always on the most aggressive play possible. He knows he's the hardest hero to kill in the match, so take like the juice.
I wrote a lot of the lower skill level cores, those videos for sure, the ones in my pubs.
I like to sit back.
None of them in the jungle.
Yeah.
None of them in the lane.
Those games are really frustrating to play with on like the playmaking hero, like a position like an Earth Spirit or something, or playing an offlaner like a
Let's do stuff, guys.
And you suddenly you're going around roaming, ganking, and then you just look at your team and they're farming. It's not that there's 2 or 3 farming, and they're farming the most passive places possible. That is like the worst thing you can do as a core is to farm passively. You always have to farm aggressively to the extent that you can get away with it.
Yeah. Maybe right now, someone has to get to the mid lane. Like right now, somebody has to get to the mid lane for EG. You know, Zai steps in. He's got that lane to work with. Arteezy still plugging his way through the top lane. And they also have bottom covered here. For CG, it feels like they've been pumping the brakes a lot and just totally in on their farm game right now. So I don't know what the call to action is going to be for them, but they are waiting to get a couple more items online here. But we're seeing just Arteezy alone force 2 of them to kind of step off a bit.
Silence.
Follow up, the global comes out from Sumail. The charge is in, and Crit even rotating in with Sumail, bringing in that right-click damage. The Witch Doctor also going to be going down. A good Sonic Wave does fly out. Not enough to get the finish on Zai, and now EG look to clean up the rest of the mess. 3 are going to be going down and make it 4 as Universe helps swat down Armel on his Queen of Pain, making it a 4 for 2 trade.
Mid Chrono animation. He's going to stop the charge. Chrono 2. Don't know if he gets the kills, but he's going to at least survive. And Global Silence comes in. It was perfect from Sumail. Nice turnaround from the Sand King, but it was still just not going to be enough for clutch gamers to win the fight, even though they do get some support kills.
And this is an item that you usually don't see on the core Venom or the Arteezy Venom, at least the dagger. It's more of this kind of almost like a plague bearer build, right? You jump in and kind of get your ult off, and then you kind of don't care if you die after. So that you would have seen like a different position played like that, but. In this case, with the Global Silence, allows them to potentially surprise the Void if he's unconditionally, if he shows, and if he's not actually doing the clean initiating as you were talking about, gives them a chance to hurt him and stop his team from getting to him as well. So
yeah, I like the since you mentioned the Global. The other thing I always think of Blink Dagger as like one of the counter items to Void in general, because especially Voids without blinks, you see him coming, he tries to time walk in and chrono you. You can always blink back defensively and dodge that chrono, or he's just not going to throw it. So I've always kind of thought of Blink Dagger as actually an item to outplay a Faceless Void chrono with.
Especially on land with 0 delay.
They don't really have instant speed initiation other than like maybe the Sand King, and then again if you put those wards up you can potentially see him coming, or he'd have to be smoked to initiate onto you. So if they do feel pressure to fight into him, which they kind of do again if he's able to take their powers early on, then it's kind of a different story.
Team's 5 minutes smoked.
Yep. EG take to the high road here as Clutch were approaching from just south. But it looks like both teams are not going to be edging each other here. EG could poke themselves inside the pit, but...
They saw the Venom wards, so they know where EG roughly are.
Yeah, they circle out the map, it looked like there. So CG for now, no word, safe, and we'll move in for a tier 2 tower.
They're out of position to stop this rush from happening, though, which is unfortunate.
Yep. That one looks good for EG. They'll take the loss of the tier 2 for it, no problems at all.
It was really nice. Arteezy, I think, just recognized that Clutch Gamers had 5 heroes missing for too long.
Clutch back to the shrine altogether with a portal.
EG have kind of already split up, though.
Yeah.
But
alright.
may come back in for this fight now they've got an Aegis.
They had a chance to initiate, but once they started attacking the Venom wards...
Yes, they did. They make their move in. The Witch Doctor is going to be easily handled there. More delicious intel going to be sucked up by Sumail, and he is looking to glaive on down this Uberlord, who's not looking so damn fat. EG here now, parading down this mid lane. They are going to be having to send Zai back, it looks like, to deal with the pressure coming in from the bottom lane, but overall still EG in a more commanding position as they begin their battering ram siege down this mid lane.
It's been very crisp execution. This is maybe something that we expect coming into this series in terms of like playing to their strengths for EG. So for Clutch gamers, like they have to, the global is an issue if they're kind of caught out in the middle, they don't get the initiation. So for instance, like if they start showing their supports, they start fighting Venom wards, it's a very clear sign that your whole team is there and you're either looking for a fight or you're prepared for one, and then EG can kind of decide what to do. They can back off or they can come in with the global and allow that to back up the start of their fight. And so for Clutch, you have to be a little bit more careful. I feel like you can't show unless it's a Sand King or Void initiation, and then the follow-up comes in, then the global maybe isn't in time to stop anything or save your heroes. If you end up with your supports aggressively positioned by the tower, say on a gank, then EG knows that your team is right there and ready to fight, and they can then kind of dictate what happens next around global. So this is kind of like a detail of taking these fights that I feel like EG has handled much better than Clutch so far.
Nice scan by EG there.
Yeah. With that global down, Clutch were looking for a fight, but EG realized it. That kind of highlight how well EG are playing around the global, and Clutch recognizing it themselves, trying to make a play happen.
Oh, Sumel though, peeking into action to see what's happening under that scan, finds 3 members here. Zai is working with them, and they're looking to isolate somebody. It looks like Arteezy swings it from behind. They get a hold of Boombox, and they quickly take down the Sand King. And this was started by a Clutch Gamer smoke rotation, and they are going to be coming up short again.
That's a gem as well, so big loss there.
Oh jeez.
For Clutches, they were starting to remove some of that EG vision and try to set up theirs.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Very, very costly. Where did the... Wait, did EG have the gem now?
I don't see
any of the heroes. Did they not see the gem? Was there a gem?
I heard a gem drop, unless I'm imagining.
You can hear gem drop?
You can often hear them when they get dropped on the ground, maybe just back at base or something. It may be an EG gem.
Oh, bottom lane, we missed the grab onto Armel there. It's Sumel who picks it up. Just more heavy, quick coming up from EG. Arteezy already spotting out another global, actually. He committed.
Still diving.
They're committing in with the help of the ability coming in from Crit. They get the finish onto the Faceless Void, and now it's going to be EG just rushing in, looking to close this out quick, fast, in a hurry, moving in. Fly Solo also going to be handled, and just like that, a 5-man wipe. EG just ramp it up to 60 in just a few seconds.
That was the poster example for that escalated quickly.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
1 minute we're debating the presence of the gem on the ground. The next minute, EG
have won the game.
Through Clutch's pace, hunting them down to the tier 4.
We're still looking for the gem. Like, what's going on, guys?
Now they got Raxes for sure.
So another part of the Venomancer is like, in a sense, similar to Bristleback in some ways. Like, it kind of enables these very early timings and wins where, like, the amount of damage that he outputs, like the magic damage, you don't really have the tools to deal with that. So if you haven't been able to like kill him or slow down his momentum, then he can run at you with Steam, and then it becomes harder to hold objectives, and it becomes very hard to survive his AoE. So that's what EG again has played very well this game. Like for CG, I think they were counting on being able to hold their towers, not be overrun like this, and then maybe have Void with some initiation to be able to stop the momentum, I guess, if EG scores a bit. But that plan hasn't really worked from the early game onwards.
And I think I guess for those of you out there, like we're singing Arteezy's praises a lot and focusing on him because this is well and truly a Venom strat. With how this game is entirely played around the pressure that Venom has put on the lanes, he's given them all the vision. Oh, he's not necessarily getting all the kills, but he is kind of the leading force.
Damn, Witch Doctor just crumbles before the mighty power of Sumel. Gabby's able to connect the 2-man Chrono, which does bail out Rappy for now. The Epicenter comes in, doesn't find connection under the Chrono though, and now Sumel's able to dish out the right click. He's fighting with the last remnants of that Aegis, and it finally will pop. They get a fault kill onto Crit, but now the focus is going to be on Armel's Eye. Taking it to him now, able to get the connection with the Bash. Armel though, able to blink away back to the safety of indoors, but still a nice little trade for EG. They get something out of the last moments of that Aegis, and now they're here once again to the CG base side, looking to put Game 1 in the books.
Very convincing, dominant stuff.
And Arteezy, Reveno has itemized very well for this as well. Often you'll see like something scaling out of the core, whether it's complexity with the travels, whether it's a Hurricane Pike, Maelstrom, that kind of a build. But in this case, it's got the Shivas and the Solar Crest, so it's basically nearly impossible to bring him down, especially if he's ahead and has a good start. So Minimizing again for this kind of like early game win. They've managed to find that window, and that will be game 1.
Yes, it will. They start that top push in by taking out the Faceless Void. He didn't even have a chrono for that defense. EG just come in, and they just got too much going. And the momentum cannot be stopped. Not by Clutch. Game number 1.
Kind of the EG we thought would show up, and I think for EG...
Oh, damn, is that a Karate Kid headband? Oh, Sumail is a legend. It looks like it, at least.
He's come such a long way from being that, like, awkward 15-year-old kid when he broke in the scene. He's such a badass now.
Is that a Ralph Macchio headband? I gotta see. Turn this way. Oh, well. Congratulations, EG. Congratulations to our bartender,